You're listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers.
Presented by CMH Heli Skiing and Peak Performance.
We're going. A-Pol, how's it going, man?
Going good. Just chilling in Golden. Beautiful Golden, British Columbia.
Golden, British Columbia, and kicking horse. Andy Brown, who runs Tourism Golden, will be happy that you said we're in Golden. He was telling me yesterday a lot of people just call it Kicking Horse. We're going to Kicking Horse.
Oh, it's Golden. It's the town.
Yes, exactly. He was telling me, like, people are like, where's Golden? What's Golden? Like, it's the town.
Oh, it's a great spot.
Yeah, it's cool. Have you spent much time up here other than, like, doing tour stuff?
The only reason that I know about it is because we used to come here for the Freeride World Qualifier events when we were trying to qualify for the tour.
Yep.
They also used to do an old event here called Wrangle the Chute that was a pretty cool event.
They did it this year again, I think.
No, it's different. It used to be you'd ski, I don't know what the run is called. It's one of the chutes off the gondola. Mm-hmm. And you'd ski your run, hit a kicker at the bottom, and then there'd be this like mechanical bull makeshift thing where people would pull on ropes and try and shake you off. So it was a combined score of your big mountain run, your kicker score, and your like ability to stay on this.
The bull ride?
Yeah.
For real?
No, that's like what used to happen here.
I didn't know that was the extent of it.
Yeah, that's where Wrangle the Chute started.
No way.
Yeah. And my buddies Sam Cohen and Zach Halverson back in the day came up here. There's some classic videos. If you haven't looked up the Wu-Tang Killer Bees video from back in the day, this guy sends it pretty huge. Gets up to the top of the cliff, is like, Wu-Tang Killer Bees! and sends it like 80 feet.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. Look it up.
I'm gonna
put it in the link.
Yeah, right. You're from SLC, representing the Cottonwood Canyon.
Yeah, I'm from Salt Lake City. My parents work up at Alta Ski Resort. They manage a hotel.
Which one?
There, the Rustler Lodge.
No way. I stayed at the Rustler.
Yep.
For Powder Awards, they invited me. It was a great hotel. People were really nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I noticed everyone that worked there at the time had a mustache.
Yeah, and that's because you're allowed to have a mustache. You have to shave all your other facial hair if you want to work there.
For real?
Yeah. That's why the masks have been kind of nice for people, because you don't have to shave.
Amazing. Have you ever worked there?
I folded laundry a little bit.
Did you?
That's actually a pretty good gig up there. You fold laundry from 3 to 11, and then you get to ski all day, so.
An 8-hour shift folding laundry.
Yeah.
Did your hands just get destroyed, like dried out and mangled?
No, it's mellow. The funniest part was the Mint Ferry where you'd like roll around and do turn down service.
The Mint Ferry?
Yeah, you like knock on people's doors when they're at dinner and be like, hey, housekeeping, and like switch out their towels and stuff.
That's next level. That's next level stuff.
Serious.
The Mint Ferry. So they run it?
My parents manage the lodge.
Manage the lodge? Have they been doing that for a while?
They don't own it. Yeah, I think my dad's probably pushing... So for 40 years up there now.
So it's like their place kind of thing, really.
Yeah, the place would probably crumble without them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's really neat. And so, because I've had like the Collinsons, I chatted with them. They're mountain rats as well. Grew up on the hill. Did you grow up with those guys and same sort of thing?
Yeah, Angel was older than us, but like Johnny and I were in the same group when I was 7 years old. We did this thing called Alta Youth Club. Mm-hmm. And it was a pretty stacked group of people. It was like Leo Aaron, Sam Cohen, Neil Howard, Johnny Collinson. And it was like pretty solid group of people.
Right.
So we kind of grew up skiing together. And
now you were all like, skiing.
Now we're all doing it.
You're all doing it. But it's cool because they're all doing it in different venues as well too.
Different styles.
Yeah, that's really neat because you all have your own lane.
Yeah, you all kind of had to find your niche.
Yeah, I wonder if that's because maybe there's not enough room, or like maybe I don't know if I'm thinking about it too deep, but like, oh, you're doing this, I'm gonna go this, or it's just how everyone kind of.
I think it's that we were all like horribly competitive, slightly hyperactive,
and you all just fit into what you were good at.
Type kids, probably. On the, I don't know, not on the spectrum, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, man, I get you.
Just like we needed those mountains, and like the crew that I grew up with, like even Grant Howard, like one of my favorite skiers that I still get to ski with all the time, like, and we've skied together since we were 7 or 8, probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and still ski together. And like I was skiing with them 2 weeks ago. I talked about backflipping something, and then right away Grant Howard goes and does it, just like out of spite, because I knew, like, he knew that I would have to do it if he did it, you know, and we're still the same, which is pretty cool.
Just brothers, just be like,
just,
all right.
Yeah, you have to do it now, which is cool. That's how you get better.
Did you do it yet, or have you a chance to?
No, yeah, I had to do it right then.
Oh, right then and there.
Yeah,
Oh.
You don't just like let your buddy do it and then not follow him up. You gotta follow him up, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, Jesus, I'm here now.
Yeah, you gotta get it.
That's cool. So you grew up in SLC, and there's a whole crew of people, and I find that, like, one thing I've noticed about Salt Lake City people just paying attention to the podcast and like being on social media like Twitter and stuff like that, like, you guys are a really close community. I'd say, like, over the years I've always talked about different ski areas and like the vibe in all those different areas. You know, like the Squaw is kind of silly and goofy with rad skiers. You get Jackson, her a little bit more like, you know, what are you doing over there is my place, kind of a little bit more edgy. Whistler Blackcomb's like, yeah, bro, take it. And I find like SLC is more like, yo, let's go. You know, it's more of like a really buddy vibe. Like, let's shred as a posse, let's shred as a crew. It's always like, you never see individual stuff coming out of SLC. It's almost always somebody with somebody.
Yeah. I mean, I think what makes Salt Lake City so great and good of a spot is that you can have a, like, what I would call a real job. Sort
in
of
the
thing.
city?
You know, like,
yeah.
in the city, you can do whatever you want. But you can also, like, have access to mountains, like, in 30 minutes. So it makes it...
Because it's not like a mountain town. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
like,
good
there's
point.
no sort of, like, mountain town. Like, your mountain towns are like Alta and Snowbird. Like, that's where the hub is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like to think of it as, like, you know, you're like showing up at the skate park.
Right.
You know, you can like show up alone, and if you've been there for a couple of years, you can stand at the bottom of Collins and like someone's gonna ski by.
Right.
That, you know, if you're like,
same thing, yeah, with Whistler for like 10 years there's a good, when I first moved to town, you know, the first 4 or 5 years figuring it out, then there was a good 10, 12 years right in the middle where everybody was like mid 20s, mid 30s. You couldn't ski without running into someone. You couldn't ski on your own.
Yeah.
So you'd run into someone, because you always ski the same laps, right? And you could stand at the bottom of Glacier Chair. Someone's doing a lap. And you're like, all right, cool. Someone then takes off. That's my favorite part of skiing.
No, I love that. That's like why, like, I have such a hard time leaving Alta, is you just show up like by yourself and you roll in.
Yeah, and you get a
like,
crew to ski with, people you haven't seen for a few weeks.
I mean, even too, if you want to ski by yourself, there's so many good skiers rolling around that like you get inspired by people, even like just riding up the chairlift. You know, you like see someone jump off something, and you're like, damn, dude, that was sick. Like,
right.
Who was that? Like,
right,
and
right,
it's
right.
pretty fun. Like that's my favorite part of the ski culture around there, is that we get a heavy influx of people like coming in. Like, there's colleges there, and you have kids coming to go to Westminster, the University of Utah, and like every season there's a new crop of like kids that are going to school there that show up at Alta and Snowbird, and I kind of light it up. It's really cool to see. And like,
so they know they got to bring it, right? Because there's so many people on that hill, like yourself and the guys that you mentioned and countless others.
Well, and Ross now too. You know, like Ross is one of those transplants, like came to Salt Lake, and it was
right.
like,
I remember skiing.
everyone's like, who is this kid? And I'm like, this kid's really good. Like, I watched him grow up in Tahoe. Like, kid knows how to ski.
Right.
And now everyone, pretty apparent, they know.
Yeah, they should know, right?
They know.
I skied around. I skied like when I went to Powder Awards and stayed at the Rustler. I ended up skiing a day with like Sturbins and Pep.
Yep. And
I was like, okay, I'm skiing with Pep Fugis and Sturbins at their home resort, and they're skiing some traverse, and then it was a quick right hand turn, and it was like launch. I'm like, the fuck am I supposed to follow him off of this thing? I'm like, I don't know what's down there.
Just
like
blind. You're like, it's like mountain biking, you know. You're like, take the same speed as my buddy and just trust it, and it'll work, you know.
Yeah. Just, you know, make sure you know what you're doing. Just have faith that you can ski.
Yeah.
Right. Just rely on the ability.
And I think the biggest thing that, like, I don't know, like you were saying, like skiing with Pep and stuff, there was like, my biggest thing that I think makes Alta and Snowbird such a heavy spot right now is a lot of the kids that are there are mid-20s, you know, and that's like when Tangerine Dream and those old TGR movies came out that were pretty like SLC focused, you know, like a lot of Pyramid Gap,
the
jump
Gap
stuff,
days,
like Teddy Bear Crisis, you know, like we grew up watching those when we were at a very formative age. So
and you
I
were there too, right?
Yeah, and I think it like makes the crew that's there now like I think a lot of us are there, or a lot of people have moved there because of those sessions. And like, I mean, my biggest influence is like watching Sage ski around there. You know, you'd like be like back in those days, it didn't have the whole like free skiing community that it has now at Alta. Like back in those days, it was like a bunch of old heads skiing bumps, and everyone who was ripping was down at Snowbird. But like Sage was kind of the one that would like stick up there and like ski it on the hard pack days, ski it every day, and like he was going faster than everyone else and like catching transition, because like people weren't skiing fast enough at that time and like understanding how to like catch these transition jumps. So you'd like see Sage do something under the chair, and then we'd all be like,
yeah,
oh, that's where we're going, you know. And
that's one of the things I didn't notice.
Cody Barnhill and like
right. It's one of the things I noticed is that there's the flow. Like I went on a low tide, super low tide when I was there, but we were watching people like ski and mock under the chair, and this all of a sudden be like, I'm like, what did he do? Whoa! And
then all of a sudden that's like the line. Like someone will set. It's kind of annoying at times almost, but like you set a track into a jump, and like within the hour there's
it's rutted out.
Yeah, it's rutted out, and like every single hungry kid at the mountain is like hitting this kicker, which is super cool. But I mean, it's a special thing because that doesn't happen everywhere.
Right.
You like go and travel around all these spots, and like it's pretty rare to go to a spot where you just show up and everyone's ripping. Mm-hmm. There's like good people skiing, all like that's so rare.
That's cool.
You go to like these spots in Europe, and you're like stick out like a sore thumb if you're skiing like remotely good. Like some of them, like the smaller resorts, you're like,
right,
dang,
everybody's on the piece, right?
Like everyone's on the piece, and like you could come over here and like no one's skiing with backpacks. Everyone's off the piece. Like even the mediocre skiers are just like trying to rip it, which like I appreciate that. Like I think that's sick.
Do you like Europe for that? So you can actually like be like, oh hey man, like this is me. We can session this all day.
I love Europe. Mm-hmm. Like Europe has been. A lot of my friends are all into sled skiing. Mm-hmm. Like super, that was like the thing, like buy a sled, go to Canada, you know, like figure that out. Like that's the ticket, you know? And after going to Europe, and like, I'm very green sled skiing. Yeah. Like have experienced very little. So this is kind of an overstatement here. Mm-hmm. But some of those runs in the zones that you can access in Europe are so easy, you know, and you get like 6 hits in a run that no one's hit, you know, like even the tracked out zones, they just ski around all the good terrain. It's so funny, all the weird features and stuff. So I think Europe's rad. Like there's so much low hanging fruit. It's unreal over there.
Do you usually try and spend like in between comps and stuff to try and spend a bit of time?
That's the whole crux of the old tour.
Yeah.
You know, you travel around the world, and then you do the contest, you get all stressed, you party really hard with your friends that night, and then you get kicked out of the hotel, and you're like hungover, and you have all these grand visions. You're like, this year we're going to go to Barcelona, we're going to go to Spain, like we're going to do this, we're going to go to Switzerland in between.
Yeah.
And then by the time that you like do the contest party, like get hungover, find a spot, you're like so drained that you can never really like
make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen. When you can make it happen, when you have a little bit of a window, you know, more than like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Because there's usually like, what, a week in between the FIBA run and
it always depends. Yeah. You know how the tour goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you stoked about this? There's a big gap now. This is bigger than normal. It's like a full month.
Yeah, I haven't, you know, COVID and stuff. I haven't gotten to go skiing with my truck.
Yeah.
Especially up in Canada for like 2 years. Like I haven't done a ski trip with my truck, you know, just like driving around, like could go anywhere. Of course, it's like the biggest window of high pressure that North America's
so
seen in
it's brutal. The start of December was so amazing everywhere, and then it just turned off. Hopefully we'll get some right now. Looks like we're getting little bits and pieces, but where do you want to go? Like, are you going to stay in Canada for a couple of weeks, or since you have that window, are you just going to say where's the snow and then go there?
I would love to be able to say where's the snow and go there.
So you got what, 3 weeks till you got to really start thinking about getting back over there?
Yeah, we got close to a month.
Yeah, 30 days I think. But don't you usually go a few days early to do like the jet lag thing? And
jet lag destroys me. It like won't even really help that much. Going early. We went to Engleberg last year, so I'd like to go check out Engleberg
It's on
again.
my list.
That place is cool.
That's on my list. I followed the Engelberg Hotel Instagram page, so I know Julian Carr would go out there.
Yeah, his name's on the carpet.
For real?
Like outside of our room on the carpet, it said like it was Pierre's cliff and
Jamie Pierce.
Yeah, Jamie Pierre's cliff and Julian Carr's cliff, like on a map. It's so funny because they have the map of the
on the ground as the carpet.
I was like, dang, dude, like right outside of my door.
Because I've seen he's been there a bunch, and then like I know Hedvig moved there, and then Oscar Ennender shoots a lot there. He's one of my favorite photographers, so I started following them in the summer.
Yep.
And their chef was doing like special sandwiches and stuff.
Yeah, the wine of the week.
Yeah, there's a wine of the week, and they were doing like the dinner of the week or the special of the week.
Yeah.
Like, they did like a fish and chips and some crazy sandwich one time. I'd always be like...
Yeah, no, those guys are awesome. We were stuck in Andorra last year, essentially just like loitering. It was Graybird. Like people were going golfing more than they were going skiing.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw like the Swedes are always over there, and they're like skiing pow, hitting jumps. And we were like, dude, we got to get out of here. And like hit them up on Instagram, and like the Ski Lodge Engelberg, man, like those guys are super awesome.
So I've heard, yeah. I was chatting back and forth with them.
Rad. Like if anyone's trying to travel to Switzerland or go ski there for a little bit, like go through that place. Like they take care of the free riders, and like if they take care of us, they'll take great care of you.
Yeah.
And we're a pretty hard group to take care of.
I don't know. You guys know how it works, so you know what I mean?
I
don't think it's so bad.
We come with a lot of baggage.
Literally, figuratively.
Yeah, right. All of it.
So I don't know. That's kind of my plan is like the last time I was out, I just went to Fieberbrunn. I was at like a Youth Thrive trip with Johnny the week before, and then COVID shut everything down. And so this time I've seen all those videos and photos and it just keeps popping up. I'm like, I want to go to that place.
Yeah, it's cool. It's funny because all the Euros think it's all like blown and crowded. And like I was saying, we're just like, dude, there's no one hit this one, dude. Like, you guys didn't hit this. Like, what are you guys doing?
Right?
It's pretty fun.
That's awesome. So let's talk about some things about you. I want to get to know about you a little bit. You're an artist.
Yes.
Would you consider yourself an artist?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, sure. Passion.
Was it? Yeah?
Yeah, no, I did art in high school.
Did you? Sweet, because I've seen like on Instagram every time you post like a picture or painting or something like that, I'm like, oh, that's rad. Mm-hmm. I dig it. Do you do like watercolors, or do you like what style do you like to do?
A lot of the
style. I don't know any art terms.
Yeah, totally. A lot of the style that I do would be like abstract landscape type stuff, and. Mm-hmm. Kind of my process is always I'll make sort of an abstract like color drawing most of the time, and then kind of come in and like see how that basic color painting or watercolor goes, and then come through with like some darker line work on top of it, whether it's like acrylic or pen and ink or something like that. But yeah, I just like abstract mountain stuff. And
is that something that you do like while you're traveling too? Do you have like a sketchbook or anything like that?
Again, it's the same thing, it's like you don't like, I wish I was better about finding more time for it, but like so many friends and so much going on with these events all the time that you really don't
make time for yourself.
Yeah, or not have a lot. I mean, you make time for yourself, but you're not going to sit there and be like, yeah, I want to draw. You're like making time for yourself. It's like, okay, I need to take a nap for like 30 minutes and take a shower.
Right. Yeah. Right. You're so busy with everything anyways. It's like,
and you don't want to miss out on anything, it's so fun.
And it's like, for me, the same sort of thing is like, I have things that I like to do to relax and chill out, but those meditative things still take a bit of brain power and a bit of time. Even though it's enjoyable brain power.
Yeah.
So like versus me editing a podcast or something, I can go and, do some music research, or like I like listening to music and finding new tunes, or like reading a book or something. Even though I'll enjoy that, it's still brain power.
Yeah, it's
when
exhausting.
It's like I don't want to use my brain.
Yeah.
I just want to stare at something.
And chill.
Right? Yeah, I get it. So is that something that you look forward to? Like after a long winter, you can go home and...
Yeah, and like that's how I kind of keep myself busy in the fall. Like I'll river guide in the summertime up in northwest Montana, or have for the last 8 years.
Whitewater?
Yep, Whitewater. I like run the gear boat on these fly fishing trips. So I'll just like chill and set up camp and get it all spruced up. And
Cool.
so when the fly fishing people come in and everything's all spruced up, we're eating appetizers. And
So what do you do? Like, what are those trips like?
so it's down in northwest Montana. I guess down from here, up for a lot of the listeners. Outside of Glacier National Park, and it's a wilderness trip that we do, like the sick trip. That is why I keep going back up there.
Is it like a several day river?
It's a 4-day trip. It's pretty short. It's only like 18 miles, but it's like class 4 techie little, I don't know, small river that has really good fishing on it. Lots of good cutthroat trout. And
It's a little adventure, some fishing, and
yeah, it's great. And like we pack in with mules. It's all a wilderness area.
for real?
Yeah. So you like get all the gear together and weigh it out with the bosses and pack it into panniers and stuff. And yeah, put it on a mule and
Come on.
we go into the river. And
Do you guys hike in, or do you
we hike in with all, like the guides don't.
Yeah.
We got some tough bosses, they're good guys, but you got to work for it.
Yeah. Do the
You're
guests
carrying your own stuff.
do the guests ride in on like?
They don't ride in, they walk in
That's
too,
what
but
I
like
mean,
all
like,
their
yeah.
gear goes in, so they have
On the
like a
mules?
sandwich, and their water bottle,
And their
and they're
backpack, yeah.
dying.
Yeah.
And you're like, I remember I was like 18 years old and they sent me in with this mule all by myself, and I'm with this kid from Minnesota, and he's like, oh, it's like a really big dog, and we're in bear country, and I'm like, we're gonna die, like we're screwed. But yeah, it's awesome. I love it down there. And
How long you been doing?
way.
How long you been doing that for? Is it just like
That
have you been
was-
doing like big whitewater trips for years and stuff? Or
No, I got into it. A family friend, this guy, Darwin Stoneman, is the owner of the raft company. Like, absolute legend. Like, started all these heli ski operations in Alaska. Was like influential with the whole starting of that scene, and was like the one of the OG ski patrollers and heli ski guides down in Alta. Like, knew my parents, and he was like, "Can you give my son a job?" Like 18. Like, went up there so green. Like,
yeah,
little old Andrew, like little tiny,
skinny little Andrew.
skinnier than I am now, like so cold, thought I was gonna die, like, but it was awesome. Like, kept going back, and I love it up there. Got a good crew down in Whitefish now, and lots of good friends.
Have you only really just run that river, or do you do
For
like
guiding? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gotten to do like some Grand Canyon trips and some cat trips, and
the Grand Canyon lottery just came out last week?
yeah, I blew it and did not fill out any permits. But if anyone's got any Grand Canyon trips out
You
there
can
in
still
the
apply
world,
now. And they always have like those follow-up ones or
Yeah.
whatever. I have a bunch of friends in Whistler that have been guiding for years and years, and they have their own boats.
yeah,
So they would take like day trips for their birthday, like up the Elaho.
yeah.
We do like a Thompson River up in the Okanagan. I don't know if you've ever run the Thompson. It's pretty sweet.
I
No,
haven't done any.
Thompson River trips, that kind of stuff. And it's like the car camping of the water world. It's amazing.
No, it's so
you can
fun.
it's amazing that people don't realize how much shit you can bring on a
like,
raft.
Dude, even on our mule trips, it's like we like pack it down pretty tight, and you still are eating steak and like
Steaks, there's barbecues. We brought
Yeah.
like potato guns and like
yeah, it's so
tables
fun.
and chairs. It's wild.
Yeah, inflatable, and like it's so fun, man.
Yeah, like you could. It's so easy. You can bring random shit you don't need. Like
river trips are cool, man.
yeah,
Like if anyone ever asks you and you're like green, they're like, hey, you want to come on this river trip? You should probably go. Like, it's
always.
a good time.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
And you'll probably end up once you get a little bit better at it,
Mm-hmm.
you probably end up paddling the toilet boat, the
Yeah, right.
shitter boat
Oh, yeah.
for a little while. That's like
Dude,
your
we
intro.
like, so other raft companies have it pretty plush with so it's called the Groover.
Mhm.
And it's
the,
called,
the river is.
no, the Groover. That like,
Oh yeah, the shit boat.
the shit box. So like for people who don't know, if everyone was going down the river and like digging your own little hole on these beaches, you'd end up with all this shit on the beaches. So like pretty early on, they were like, okay, we're gonna start like collecting our shit, and what they'd use is those ammo cans, and like you literally wouldn't have a seat on it. You'd like literally just like shit into the ammo can,
Hopefully
and so
not hit
you'd
the
end
side,
up with
yeah.
like grooves on your ass cheeks. So that's why it's called a groover.
Oh really?
Yeah, and so like at some raft companies, like on more well-developed rivers, like the salmon and stuff, like there's like cleaning tanks at the end of your trip, like you just like put your groover in the thing and like you don't have to deal with it. It just like does its thing.
Rinses it out.
At some of these more like old school cowboy operations, which ours is still thankfully one of those for maybe a year or so, like, you got to clean the groover out. Like, that's what you do at the end of the trip. So you'll have like a 5-day trip with like a bachelor party.
Oh no.
You know, or like
the greasiest contents ever.
That's where when you're packing it, you're always trying to feed them a lot of cheese.
Keep it solid.
So they just don't shit, dude, and like keep it all mellow, you know? But so, anyway, like you clean this groover, and I've had like, it's better now. Our system is
some horrible
better
experiences
now, but they used to have this like accordion, like hose that you'd like be shaking the thing out and like balance it on your foot and like make sure the hose like didn't pillow and balloon out and start like spraying it. It was like shit's out of control. Like no pun intended. Like,
that's gross.
I've done some stuff, man, that I don't even want to.
They don't. Yeah,
the listeners don't
man.
It's
gonna be scarred. You're scarred for life. That's
no, it's good though. I mean, like one time this guy threw a bunch of sticks and stuff in this groover. And I don't know if all the river people out there know, it's like when you have logs in a river, it's called a strainer. Mm-hmm. So I'm like trying to clean out this groover and all these sticks that this British guy is like, I added sticks to the groover to give it a nice piney scent. And I was like, you did what, bro? Like you ruined my life. So I'm like cleaning this thing out and it made a strainer. So it collected all the solids like on this thing, you know? And like had to just go in like glove on, you know, and just like grab this stuff out. And I remember putting it in this like Ziploc bag that this girl who worked at the raft company was working with me, and she was like laughing so hard. And my boss came around the corner and was like, can you do a 4:00 trip? You know, and I'm like right on the school bus again, like giving the bus talk to everyone.
Like 20 minutes later.
20 minutes later, and you're like, you have no idea what I was just doing with these hands, dude. Like, you guys should be concerned. But that's like the type 2 fun stuff that like,
yeah,
you come back because you like, in the moment, you're like, what the hell was that?
If you had to do that every day, it'd be like,
it'd be a
peace out,
bummer, but
I'm
like,
out of here, yeah.
But like, that's the shit that makes you come back. You know, it's the same thing with these comps. Like, I don't even know if I'd like every time I'm in the start gate, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing up here? Like, I don't even like this. Like, you know, and then you get to the bottom and you're like,
that was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun, dude. Like, celebrate. Sweet, you know?
The start gate at this comp, you couldn't get your buckle done up. I was watching you.
Yeah, I know.
And he was like, ask him about his buckle. I'm like, I know, I was standing right beside you. You were in the start, you were the first to drop, and you were waiting up there for like, they're like, all right, 2 minutes, and they're like 10 minutes,
8 minutes,
4 minutes, 6 minutes. They were up there for a while. So then 30 seconds, and then you're like, oh, my boot. And you went down, you were sitting up there for like literally 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden with like 30 seconds left, you're like going to do your boot up, and you're like trying to strap it. And I think you were just like, well, I think it's just going to be like that because you couldn't get it done up.
Well, there's all these like, everyone has a different style on like how they compete, you know, and like how they want to be like in that element, you know. And I've always been a person like, keep your boots unbuckled until you like really need it, and then you feel like super good. Yeah, because I'll be like
comfortable and then tight.
Yeah,
it's game
and
on,
like
right?
It's game on, you know. So I'll like sit in the start gate with my boots unbuckled as long as possible, you know, like almost until they say 30 seconds, and then I'll buckle my boots, and then you're like, boom, there we are. And my cat, like, I have such skinny little chicken legs, you know, like that. I'm trying to buckle this boot in the spring. I've got like old boot buckles, and they like, it wouldn't lock. So I was like, well, I guess I can't go as tight as I want to. I'll just go one less.
And you slayed your line. It was fun watching. You fired everyone up.
Well, that's the point, man. It was cool. Like, I've never gotten to go first.
Oh, really?
Before on the tour, like the last time I went first was like, 4 or 5 years ago here when I was trying to qualify. And it's cool, man. Like, you get up top, like, those are all your friends. Like, it's the sickest group of people already to ski with. And when they're all in one spot, like, it's like you're like a bunch of birds sitting on like a wire, you know, like leaning over the edge, watching everyone drop in. And like, to have all your homies up there is so sick. And I don't know, it's intimidating to go first, but it was cool. I liked it.
And
I was stoked.
You threw your line down. It was great. It was fun to watch. Everyone was fired up, like, yeah, Paul. Yeah. You know, it was awesome. You set the tone for that.
Well, that's like when you go first in these comps, like if anyone watches these free ride comps and stuff, you know, like the way that the Europeans judge the system, it's like it's an overall impression system that ranks you off of other skiers. So like normally when you go first,
you're the benchmark.
Yeah, and it's really easy to get forgotten if you don't like set some sort of standard, you know, and a lot of
give them a reason to remember.
Yeah, you know, like you got to give them a reason, and a lot of times, like one move, like that's creative or something, doesn't really do that. So kind of my only thought process with that was like, you just take the low hanging fruit line and like ski it well, and hopefully if you ski it well, it's like that's the threshold for the rest of the day. So like if anyone else goes in there, if they want to be remembered for skiing that, they like got to ski it better than you did, you know?
Yep.
But I think it only works on those obvious lines. Like if you go do some like party trick move over here, it doesn't really work.
No, that's one thing about
skiing's crazy.
That's one of the things about your skiing though, is like you have a very, very unique style. You know, people say like you've taken over like the style title from like Drew Tabke, because you find these really interesting things that nobody ever really skis that way. You know, you do a lot of cross court, a lot of flowy, a lot of transitions, a lot of just, it's almost like water. You know what I mean? A lot of other guys will like, I'm going to go here, stomp this, stomp that. It's very economical. Where you're more like, when I learned that, when I saw your Instagram and I'm like, oh, he's an artist. And then I watched you ski, I went, that's why.
That was like my bullshit essay that got me into college. Oh yeah, it was like, oh man, like art and skiing, it's the same thing. It's so cool and spirit. Like my art is the same as me. You know, like
it is though.
I know, but it's
you're
such
mocking yourself.
Bullshit, you know,
you're mocking yourself. I don't think you should,
no,
but
it's.
I think
I don't know.
is.
Like I think it's a lot of it draws back to that sage stuff that I was saying early on, and like. I grew up like respecting more of like the Ian McIntosh style, you know, like I liked that just like hungry, like
straight big
stomp. And like as I got older, I started to realize that like isn't as sustainable, or isn't like, it just doesn't feel good. You know, I mean, it's cool, like it's rowdy, but
yeah,
it's got to feel good. Whereas like Sage does stuff, and like even like Hugo Harrison, like the OG,
straight,
you know,
big.
like that's the style that like my goal is kind of like try and do the Hugo thing with the Sage thing, where you like stomp every time, you know, like kind of try and blend those two.
Always on your feet, but also being
like,
able to, instead of just going big and straight, you'll be able to add a little flair or something.
Yeah, or like just hit stuff differently, so it's like it's smooth, you know. I for one hate hitting flat airs. I know a lot of other people do too, but I watch a lot of you guys just freaking chunce it,
but they do
to the flat, you know, and you're like, I just think it's ridiculous watching people hit jumps sometimes, because you're like, you know, like look at how to hit it a little better. Like when we were just in Vaquera, like that place has more jumps per capita than any other ski resort I've ever seen in my whole life. And like the way that the people would set the tracks were just like so wrong. You know, like the kicker would be like set here just to the total flat landing, and you're like, dude, if you came off this way with some speed and like it's got good landing, you know. So it's just finding those angles, I think. But a lot of people don't, and
no,
I that's like my pride in joining skiing is that like I like to think that I will like find the kickers, and then all my friends like Ross and Blake and Grant and all these other kids will do crazy tricks off them. But I'll find it.
Yeah.
And then they'll like go off, you know, but like I'll be the one that's like, yeah, this is kind of
the transition finder. Hey, what about this?
This is kind of good. You can jump from there over to there.
So are you the guy that they follow around? Like, we're following A-Pol today.
No. Maybe. I don't know. When I'm coaching the ski team kids, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like that game, you know, Tiny Wings?
No. It's
like an old iPhone game that this is going to hit the people that are around like 23 to 28 maybe. But you'd like have this little bird character, and your goal is to like catch transition on this thing, and it would like get you more speed if you like caught better transition, if you cased the front side. Like that's what skiing's all about, you know. You get these like little It's like speed booster tracks. And if you can figure out how to do that 3-dimensionally in your skiing, it's kind of like you can do not anything, but you can kind of,
right.
It gets very fun with what you can do.
Yeah, and it shows.
Like Craig is really good at that.
Craig is really good at it, too.
Like really good at it.
He's the kind of skier that, we were talking about this to someone yesterday. He's just the kind of skier that can go to any angle to anything, and he'll be like, oh, it's not necessarily he'll find the right way to go off it. He'll adapt his skiing to make sure that he does the right thing off that spot, right?
Totally.
Like he doesn't go and find the spot so he can do something that works. He'll do something that works because he just went off of that spot.
In the spot.
Yeah. And you're you're a lot like that too,
yeah,
right?
it's very like in the moment. It's all about like being present, you know? And that's like the craziest thing about the visual inspection side of our freeride comps is you got to be so in the moment.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to be hosed. Like if you're like thinking about some other thing, like your next feature when you're coming into the one that you're hitting, you're done.
So you said you coached some kids at Alta too?
Yeah, I coach the Alta Snowbird freeride team.
Really?
Whenever I can, when I'm in town.
Has you any?
Which is the team that I was on.
Have you gotten like to a point where some of the kids, you've been coaching, are close to the tour, or is there anybody on the tour that you coached?
No,
not yet.
I'm not there yet. This is my 5th year coaching. Some of the kids, like this kid Louis Overington and Connor Doyle, are 2 kids that I got the pleasure of coaching, and they're doing pretty well in the qualifiers. So I bet they end up making that cut and do the qualifier finals against Tom and stuff. And
oh yeah, this year.
I think it'll be fun. Yeah.
What's it going to be like if you get on the tour and one of the kids that you coached makes the tour? Is that going to be a trip?
Yeah, because that'll make me feel old. Because those kids were young when I started coaching them.
How do you think Foos feels?
Pretty old. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I think that'd be a cool legacy, and I'd like to see how those kids ski, because everyone's got their own style. But if there is a bit of that,
it's pretty funny.
A-Pol influence.
No, it's comical.
In a way that they ski like you?
Yeah, like there was, the whole joke was that we only do left 3s without grabs. Like that our whole crew was like ski fast, spin left, don't grab. And that was like the whole ski team. And now we're doing backflips. Like we got some kids doing backies now, and like.
Do you find teaching the kids helps you improve?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think the only reason why I made the tour when I qualified through is because it was my first year coaching, and it was always hard for me to like find what I should be doing. And then once I kind of took a step back and was like, okay, well, what would you tell like your top ski team kid to go and ski? It like made it more obvious. Like if you take your own ego out of the comp and like, well, what would you tell your buddy to go ski?
Right. Right.
Like it kind of helps you like find a line.
Look at a different angle. It's like it gets you out of your own head.
Totally. And it also, like coaching too, it also keeps me skiing every day. Like when I'm back home in Salt Lake, I'll ski bell to bell pretty much every day.
Oof.
Which I mean is great.
Is that how you like pay the bills outside of like Freeride World Tour stuff? Is like
living in my parents' basement.
The rafting? Basement.
Yeah, that's it.
And so I want to talk about your sister too, because you're on tour with your sister, which is a really special thing.
I was. But...
Well, yeah. In the last 3 years, you've got to spend some time with your sister on the Freeride World Tour, which is pretty special. Like you get to travel the world with your bud, you know what I mean? Obviously, your brother and sister, you probably piss each other off, but you guys also love each other a lot. And when you get into a position where you're traveling the world, and you know you've got someone on your team, no matter what, it's got to be pretty helpful.
No, I mean, my sister's like the best, and to me in particular, but like also to everyone else, you know, like pretty good spirit animal of the Freeride World Tour, as Rana put it in her post the other day. Like, I don't know, she loves it. She grew up doing it with me. Like, she's made friends here. Like, she loves the community of it, probably more than the contest, which I've always thought was like really important, because if you're like too wrapped up in taking a judge sport super seriously, like it's not worth it. So I mean, my sister's awesome, and she takes care of me, and like it's gonna be a lot hard, like once Jaqueline's not around, Team America struggles a little bit, like getting around
She like Team
Europe.
Mom?
Oh yeah, because she gets stressed first, you know, about like, oh, we need COVID tests, we need this, so she'll like let everyone know, you know. And I think it's gonna be pretty damn comical with me, Jack, and Ross. Because then I become dad, and those guys are like, I don't know, man. Like, what should we do? And you're like, you're 30 minutes late, dude, on that. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. And like, competing with Jaqueline's always been really cool. Like, we had a streak there. We were both doing like pretty darn good together.
Mm-hmm. Like 2019, 18, 19.
Yeah, we went like second, and third in the same like day. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it's so special to get to share that stuff with someone that you care about. Mm-hmm. It's also stressful.
When you see someone crash or...
Not even that, you know, like you get done with your comp run and you're like, oh, finally. You're like, oh no, Jaqueline's still got to go.
Fair.
And you're like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, I'm just back to like Tyrannosaurus Rex butterflies in the stomach. Like, I thought I was done with those for the day.
You get to experience
or vice versa, you know, like...
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I wouldn't trade it for anything, you know?
That's pretty cool, man. It's a pretty
cool.
special moment. Have you guys always been... You're the older brother, right?
Oh, yeah.
But she's the big sister.
Yeah, she definitely wears the boots when we're traveling.
Yeah.
I just drive, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good combo.
It's a good combo.
Do you guys
We're a good team.
Yeah, do you ever get tired of yourselves, of each other? Yeah.
But I think, like, for the most part, we're pretty good as far as a sibling duo
It
goes.
seems like it, right? It's always amazed me how many sibling duos there have been on this tour.
Especially lately, like, it's really cool. And what's funny is we grew up with all these kids. Like, we grew up with the Nichols, we grew up with the Bathgates. Like,
right.
It's rad to see so many siblings, the Muller brothers, you know? Like, we grew up skiing with all those kids. So to watch it all work, you know, like, freaking rad. Right. You know, like, all of us were on, like, they were on the Whistler team. I was on the Snowbird team. And you're like, damn, these freeride programs work. You know, like, they definitely work. Mm-hmm. Like, it's...
What do you think about, like, all of these other new comps that are kind of popping up, like the
Nando one and stuff?
Yeah, Nando, well, that was kind of one before, but, like, the Nando Freeride, and then, obviously, Travis Rice's...
The Supernatural.
But that's a snowboard, though.
No, I think it's cool. I think that there's a lot of room, potentially in the States to, like, bring back more freeride comps. Like, hopefully Nico doesn't be upset at this, but it's like, I think there's almost more room in the sport than necessarily the Freeride World Tour. Mm-hmm. Like, kind of the way I would like to see it go, and this is kind of a pipe dream, is make the World Tour more of a specialty event, you know, like more of a cold rush invite only, like less of a we're going to these ski resorts and doing the event there, you know, like more of like, let's do the whole event in BC for a month, you know, like go, and then we're going to go to Switzerland for a month and we'll find 5 venues that
or
are
add
good.
something, because they did the Swatch Skiers Cup before.
I thought that was the sickest contest ever.
Right? Stuff like that would be cool.
Down.
Or like Cold Rush, that sort of thing.
Totally. I think there's a lot of room for it, and
there's a place for everything. Like the tour is good because you have that feeder tour. I think adding the new format, I don't know.
Yeah, I like the format, actually.
I think so, because then you create interest in that lower that qualifier tour, right? As before, no one knows anything about the qualifier tour. People on it until they get the Freeride World Tour. Now there's consequence. Yeah. So it adds a little bit of...
It adds a story.
It's story, and then, but I agree with you, there's room for that, but I also agree, like, hey,
I want to bring back the Snowbird comp, man. Like, bad.
There needs to be...
That's what I grew up on, you know? Right? Like, I can't... It's so sad that there isn't,
the unfair advantage.
No, but just, like, I grew up skiing, and, like, the reason why I do these comps is because of that Snowbird comp. Like, watching people ski Northwest Baldy.
Right.
And so the fact that there isn't that comp there anymore, it's, like, kind of heartbreaking.
Is it an IFSA comp now?
They do it. It's, like... It's just a one-day event. Like, I miss the whole... We're going to take a history lesson back here. There used to be this thing called the Free Skiing World Tour back in the day. And Before they combined, and it was like 3-day events, you know? Like, it wasn't the World Tour. It's like, hey, we're going to travel, like, wait for the best windows. Like, it'd be Graybird, you're going. It's, you know, you got to adapt to the conditions. And it was all on-slope inspection, but it was 3 days. You know, you used to have to qualify, and then you had to, like, ski your run on Silver Fox, and it was cumulative scores on Baldy, and then they'd maybe even make you do a super final run, which I respected a lot because it built this story. Whereas, like, when you just do one and done, it's hard to build the story
Right.
in such a short window.
Right.
Whereas, like, when you have the multiple day event, it really builds the story. It, like,
they used to do that in Whistler
drama.
back in the day. You just reminded me. They used to do one at the Bite, which is like the glacier.
Yep.
Did you ever come to Whistler for those ones? They used to do one on the Bite, and then you go to the Couloir, and then you go over into like Spanky's into Diamond Bowl, and it was the same thing. The 3-day comp.
And, like, it for the viewer, like, that's rad. Like, it makes it sicker. You go on the day one and you see the people, and then you go see the people again on day two, and you kind of like build a relationship with the skiers, and that's like how you do it. You know, you see their run on day one, and then you're more stoked for them on day two, and and
then by day 3, you've got someone to root for.
Yeah,
you're
like, I'm fully stoked on his skiing, you know, and it builds a drama. And it's so hard with the tour because they just do it one and done, and it's like,
right. What do you feel about the 2-run format, Fever Run?
I think that it's a really challenging face to do it on. Personally, I like the idea of the 2-run. I think it's a really cool idea. I think that in order for it to work and to be really successful, I think it needs to be on a venue like we were on Super Bowl with good snow.
Really?
Something that's shorter, little less consequence, and something that holds snow better. That Fever Balloon face is like, we're literally going to be like cockroaches because it gets baked by the sun on one side and the other side stays good later. So, like, your first run, you're probably going to go over here, like, go and get the stuff that you know doesn't have a lot of snow in it. And so I think it's going to be hard to build on that for the second run because I don't think it holds as well as, like, say that last one you did.
It's an interesting. I've talked to a lot of people about their opinions, and everybody has like a different thought process. Like it worked well when they did the 2 snowboard comps there a couple of years ago.
That was good snow.
Nils, it was that Nils ended up winning both.
Yep.
But yeah, it was good snow.
But see, what I would argue with that is, to my point, they moved the snowboarders. Snowboarders went sunny start first, and then went start 2 the next time. Like, they had 2 separate starts, and start 2 was in the shade. So it was...
Maybe they do that for this comp coming up. I don't know.
I don't think you're... I think the idea of it is that you don't have to switch starts.
No. It's going to be interesting to see what happens anyways.
I think it'll be weird. I'm like I was reminiscing and wanting that super final thing back. Like, skiing 2 comp runs in the same day is fucking rowdy. Like, it's not mellow to be like, hey, I want to go do this again. Like, it's kind of the last thing that you want to do.
Right? You seem, like you mentioned before, like the Tyrannosaur butterflies, that sort of thing. Yeah. Like, you get really worked up for a run, and like when you're competing.
Yeah, even when it's mellow.
Really?
I still do, yeah.
It's just like have you always dealt with that? Is it the anxiety, like the competition anxiety? That
yeah, and it's not even like anxiety of like blowing it or hurting yourself. You know, it's like just the anxiety of
doing it.
Just the whole show. It's like a lot of people, like, on the 4-star series are gonna watch that last comp and be like, I could have done that. And straight up, a lot of them could.
And like, all of them did last week or 2 weeks ago.
Totally. And it was like, the shit that's rowdy about the tour is you're fucking wearing a back protector. You've got your beacon, your shovel, your probe, GoPro, drone. Like, it's such a scene that it, like, eats people alive. You know, like, you watch good skiers come on this tour that you know are like straight up better skiers and really good skiers, and they just can't deal with the whole scene. Because it's not like being in that present state with all that shit going on is like...
It's interesting because it adds another element that isn't necessarily skiing, but it's more like you said, it's like a mental fortitude.
No, it's fully mental.
Nerves things, right?
People are always like, we do this stuff with the ski team kids, you know, you're like, we're going to go inside and listen to like the mental, like, coaching stuff, you know? And all the kids are just like, fuck. And it's funny because, like, you try and explain to these kids, you're like, no, it's 100% mental. Like, can you get in that mindset where you can be present enough to ski this run, you know? Like, and if you can't, you're gonna fucking explode. Like, it's not gonna end well.
Like, it was wild. Like, so back to what I was telling you before, when you dropped in and all the boys were like, yeah, A-Pol, sweet. Like, you got that vibe going. Like, I'm a big believer in energy that we don't know how to measure yet, right? How many times have you, like, ever walked into a room that someone maybe had just had an argument in and no one says anything? You walk in the room and you're like, something's weird in here. Like, this feels totally off. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like, I've hung out at the bottom, but I've also hung out at the start gate a couple times. And then this one, I stood up there for almost the entire comp, and just feeling that anticipation and the vibes, and like, I don't get in anybody's way. I don't talk to anybody. I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy.
Yeah, totally.
That's like, there was some dude up there that was yelling at like Matthew Martineau. He was like, this is our mountain. This is our mountain. And he was like, shut up, man. And he blew his run.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
But that's a huge thing. But it, like, I felt that tension, that energy, and it's like, it's wild.
I mean, it's not. I was joking about it last night. Like, if you could picture, like, if you could make a little cartoon drawing of what's going on in every athlete's head, it would be hysterical.
It'd be
like,
so different.
Some people are like hamsters on a treadmill. Other people are like ping pong balls, like going back and forth. Other people just be like a Buddha, like meditate. Like, that's what I think Craig is like up there. It's just like, or Turrdell. I talked
like
to what's going on in his head. Like, if he knows it works, what's going on in his head is just like full Buddha mode. But at the same time, like, Turrdell and I, it was me, Turrdell, and Carl last year in Fieberbrunn, and their filmer was laughing so hard because he was like, do you guys just, like, complain the whole time before your comp run? We're just like, the snow shit, like, what are we doing? This is fucking rowdy, like, this is dumb, it's stupid, like, do you guys just complain? And you're like, yeah, actually, that's, like,
that's how we process.
Yeah, like, you just complain for, like, the whole way, and then when you drop in, you're like, okay, time to, like...
Yeah. I was joking with Turrdell. He was wearing that yellow suit. And, like, I was talking to Foose about it on the other show, the other podcast. And, like, the guy's just, like, the mellowest dude of all time. And we're like, he must have this, like, switch that he turns on and goes into beast mode. So I saw him yesterday, and he's wearing that all yellow suit. And I was calling him Mellow Yellow Christopher Turdello. And he was like, yellowing mellow.
Yellowing mellow Turdello.
Chris, and I asked him, like, you got this switch? Like, he's like, well, maybe you can tell me where to find this switch. Maybe I need it. And I'm like, no, you don't. Dude. And then he goes and he throws down that run that he did yesterday.
Which in my opinion, was the sickest run of the day. Hot take.
Yeah.
He skied the bottom so good. He kind of had a lull in the middle of it.
He skis fast, and, like, he's
done, the first comp that I did well in on the tour, it was like, I was like, cool, I got second. This is rad. And then watched it afterwards and was like, Turrdell blew me out of the water. He, like, did, like, some dumb little 360 and got docked on it. And I was like, yeah, but the rest of it, like, are you kidding me? Like,
right. It's amazing the mindset difference between all these people.
I think Turrdell wins the comps more than anyone else and gets underscored. Like,
you think gets underscored?
Straight up, I watched Turrdell win the comp. Like, this happened. I've been on the tour for 4 years. I bet there's been like 3 or 4 comps. It was really funny my first year. I was like, oh, Turrdell won again, got third. Oh, Turrdell won, got second. Like, you'd watch what he was doing and you're like, that was it.
Right.
Like, no one else is on that program. And yeah. And they were like, oh, you can't always have Turrdell win. It's not exciting. And I'm like,
you can.
No, but he does.
But he does. Yeah.
He's the ninja. He's Voldemort. He's like Federer. He's like the Federer of...
Yeah. Who, like, so obviously we're talking about Turrdell. Is there anybody that really inspires you on the tour other than yourself? Like, someone you just love to watch
Myself,
ski?
yeah. I'm really inspired by him. No.
Well, you know what I mean? Other than, you know, obviously you're happy.
No, I mean, like...
Other than Turrdell, but, like, who inspires you on the tour that you're like, I love how this person skis. I love how she skis. I love how he skis. And it makes you think about how you approach your skiing.
I think it's a cheesy answer, but it'd be most everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like everyone has something on tour. Like they didn't just end up here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's got something to deliver, you know, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
someone doing their first back. Like there's a couple people that like, you know, do like Rena starting doing backflips.
Oh my god!
Like talk about inspiring, you know, you're just like,
Foose called him.
he's old, man.
Foose called him
But
Raina
he's got
Raina
the
backfoot.
juice, dude. You know, like
Foose called him Raina backfoot Barker on the first comp, and I was like, oh man, I feel bad for him though. That backflip cost him last season, but he's cool. I talked to him about it. He's cool. He's coming to terms with it.
Immediately, like this was like in the finish girl. He's like, yeah, I crashed, but it was okay because then I have to come back. So he was like, if I would have landed, I would have had to quit.
If he landed that backflip, he would have won the comp. He would have won the overall.
Yeah, he would have quit.
And he said he would have retired. Yeah, exactly. And he's like,
and he was like, I'm pretty stoked I didn't because then I don't have to.
Right.
He's lit, dude.
He's
Rana's the GOAT. Like, super inspired by Ross. You know, like, I mean, all the kids.
You think you're gonna continue doing this for a while? Because you're sitting what, third right now?
I don't know. Fourth.
Third or fourth? I think you might be in third place. I should have looked. But
I don't know. I'll try and keep it going for...
You're having a good season. Like, how are you comparing this season to past seasons that you've had?
Good. I always have this hard point of, like, I get points and I'd love to, like yeah, I want to go ski for the title. And, like, back-to-back years, just, like, horrible snow. Like, I had shoulder surgery last year, you know? And you're just, like, is this really the right time to, like... do this? I'm all about like trying to be calculated. Mm-hmm. Like it's never worth it to go like break yourself off.
No.
For a comp. Like that's how you lose the comp. Right. Is like breaking yourself off.
Like sending something big to flat just because you think it's
no, just to hurt yourself. You know, like if you hurt yourself, like you, in my opinion, you kind of like that's losing. That's you know, like you can ragdoll and like be fine, or like if you crash in the right spot, you're you know. If you fuck up, it's like that's losing the comp. Like the goal is just to be like
get a good run in.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but like meet people. Hang out with your friends, drink beer at the bottom.
Right.
Like, that's the point.
Yeah, it's funny, it's a 6 month or whatever.
Like, no one's gonna care that much about like
right
how nasty you are. Like if you're a dick, it's so not worth it. There's nothing to gain.
Right.
It's freeride skiing, dude. It's not like it's...
And it's wild because it's like, you literally get 5 runs. It's like probably less than 10 minutes of action.
The cut, you get 3.
3, right? You get
less... And you're done.
Less than...
You know, it's like rowdy.
It's like less than 6 minutes of actual action. But everything around it is like so much more than the
jet lag, travel, like...
And the family aspect too. Like it's a big fat family. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why I hate shooting photos and being an influencer. Like, I think that sucks. I think that is, like, the worst, you know?
Did you ever go with Sam's dad, Lee?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I love shooting with Lee. Lee's the man. He's a legend. Mm-hmm. It's like, he's the reason why Alta's on the map is because of his photos, you know?
Absolutely.
It's funny. We were shooting the other day, and Sam was like, it's so crowded here. And I'm like, it's you and your dad's fault. Like, you guys made this place look so good.
Was it Lee's shoulder? Is that what it's called? He's got like what one?
It's Baldy's shoulder, but he loves the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's got the best light. It's like he figured out the way to do it and work with ski patrol, so they do early ups. But that's always been my thing with comp skiing is I'm like, you can go do these contests and do your like 5 runs out of the year. And that's the deliverables.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you don't necessarily have to be like trying to shoot all the time, like trying to make it you know, because this is your deliverables.
Because you're in that zone. That's what your job is.
Totally.
Is to be a Freeride World Tour athlete.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to go out of your way and do a lot of this stuff.
No, and like
is
that's
that one of the reasons why you love the tour?
Yeah, no, is you're like, it's amazing. Dude. You get to hang out with your friends and go ski these spots, and you got to put it down for like you're saying, like 6 minutes of the season.
Yeah. And travel the world.
Hang with but like, girls. You look at people who are doing the same thing, you're like, you guys fucking stood in your boots a lot in the cold while it was really good, and you were not skiing.
To get the shot.
Get the shot.
Right.
You know, like no one knows that. Like it's such a sham, and that like the amount of effort that goes into that is like so borderline not worth it. But I don't know.
To each their own, though, right?
Yeah, no, I appreciate all you influencers out there.
Yeah, everybody's gonna find their lane. You got something to look at when you whip your phone out. Last thing is you travel with a deck, your little Tupperware.
Yeah, rest in peace, dude. It got destroyed by some beer at the last party, so we gave it a Viking funeral up there in the Kicking Horse parking lot.
I heard you guys were up there yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, and literally kicked. We broke the DJ deck in half because it wasn't working. But I was like, if it's gonna die anywhere, the Kicking Horse parking lot.
There you go.
Is the way.
It was a bit of a bummer with the COVID protocols. I'm hoping this is the last time.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the hardest part of all of it is like you can't hang out with everyone.
Mm-hmm. 6 people to a table.
Yeah, it's rowdy.
They weren't letting...
It's rowdy. Like, the whole COVID thing is rowdy. I was all, like, on one side of it, like, yeah, dude, mask up, vaccine, da-da-da. And now I'm like, I don't even know what's real, dude. Like, fuck, can we just live again?
Right. I think everybody's...
dance with my friends.
Right. I think everybody's kind of at that stage now, so... And I was talking to Manuela, and she's like, Austria? Oh, yeah, they don't care anymore. I think it's over. I think we're going to go party. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I dig it. What can give a shout out to some of your sponsors and tell people where they can find you?
Yeah. I mean, big shouts out to like the people that have supported me, especially like the Alta community. Like, you guys are the best, like ski coaches at the ski school when I was a little kid, like Ryan to like the patrollers like McCloskey and like all these guys. Like, you guys make that place special. It's not the management. It's like the people there. Like, you guys are the reason why I've gotten to do this. Like, if you guys weren't so cool in that zone, I don't know, I wouldn't be doing this. And my parents, especially my sister, you know, like, definitely wouldn't be doing it without them, like, helping me support my dreams.
Did you guys ever live up on the mountain?
We never did. We went to a 1-room school up there, me and my sister and a couple of our friends.
So mom and dad would go to work and they would drive you to school up there, and then you'd drive home afterwards?
We'd show up to work. We'd poach the buffet at the hotel. I would sit in the hot tub, ski over to school. We'd ski we'd be in school all day. We'd get out at 3. You can ski till 4:30. And then we would come home. So yeah, massive shouts to the parents for making that.
The best childhood ever.
Yeah, just like the best childhood ever. Yeah, dude.
Skiing are you skiing for Faction right now?
Skiing for Faction. Love it. Those guys are awesome. Verbier crew. I was always like, I'll stay on Faction because maybe one day I'll qualify for the tour, and it was so sick going over to Verbier and like being on the tour, and because that's where they're all based, and sick.
Been represent.
Yeah, you gotta represent. Yeah, I don't know.
Where can people find you? If you want to follow A-Pol, which you should.
If you can find me on the old Instagram when I do my minuscule amount of influencing. A-Pol ski. Yeah, check it out. SoundCloud, dude. Check it out. Wizard Tree, dude.
SoundCloud?
My mixes, dude.
Oh, I didn't know you made mixes. I know you had a deck. Oh,
WZD Tree.
WZD Tree?
Yeah, it's the name of the art project, the music project.
And is that the same kind of vibe as like what we talked about with your art earlier?
Yeah.
Summertime when you have the time?
Yep, totally. Like throw parties in the woods. I got a speaker that runs off a battery. Like, I figured out how to do the whole thing rogue. Really? So you can like go party in the woods and have turntables. So
that might be another reason why you want more North American comps, so you can throw parties in the parking lot.
For sure.
That last night we were like, what, are we going to stay here? I'm like, we should have a bush party.
Yeah.
Just find some pallets and create a fire.
Yeah, straight up.
Next year.
That's the COVID hack. Party outside with your friends.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter how cold it is.
Right on. Well, dude, thanks.
We did it. My first podcast.
No, that's right. Your first one. Thanks for coming on. I know there's going to be a lot of people on SLC. They're pumped.
I hope so, man. If you made it all the way through here, congrats, dude.
You'd be surprised,
You're the person who I should say thank you to.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for listening. Listen more.
Yeah, listen up, dude.
And
Podcasts are good.
Yeah, watch A-Pol on the Freeride World Tour. Go put on a just watch it again.
Just skiing, man.
He's got the style. He's like he's taken over from, I think, Tabke. I don't know if that's if you appreciate that comparison or not. Tabke's a legend, but you guys have.
I think he'll be fine with it.
I mean, you.
Oh no, I appreciate it a lot. That's a mega compliment.
Yeah,
Tabke's the goat.
Yeah, and like you guys ski that same. Let's go find something that works rather than do something that'll get us points.
Yeah.
Because when we find something that works, that'll get points.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have this flowy, awesome style that you've kind of taken the baton and you moved on with it, and it's sweet.
Sick.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks,
man.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You've been listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers. This has been a Redmark Media production.